have some of the hottest cars on the market, especially BMW's hottest cars. We have here the M4 Competition, but next to it we have the very, very rare BMW M4 CSL. So today we're gonna drive the M4 Competition and the M4 CSL. We're gonna see if the price difference is worth it. I mean, a base M4 price to a CSL price is about a $70,000 difference. And do you really get more car? I mean, there's only one way to find out. Okay, so BMW M4 Comp versus BMW M4 CSL. Now, I think every logical person doing this comparison might take the regular M4 first, drive it, see what it's like, then take the CSL, see what kind of improvements there are. Now, I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna start off with the CSL, because what we're trying to figure out here is the extra money worth it, which is about $70,000 difference Canadian. Is it worth it? Now, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna drive the CSL first, and after I get the experience of the CSL, I'm going to drive the regular M4 Comp, which honestly I've never driven before. If I think the performance differences are so big that I can't live with the differences that I'd have to have the CSL, then I guess the price difference is worth it. Let's talk about the CSL. Obviously, we kind of all know this is the third time we're seeing the CSL name. The first time was, I believe, in the 70s. Then we had the E46 CSL, and now we have this M4 CSL. Personally, I've never driven the 70s one. I have driven the E46 CSL, and now I'm getting to experience this. So the only comparison I can really make is towards the E46. So the E46 CSL might be one of those cars that just aged better than anybody would have thought it would. I mean, that car now is an absolute icon, and they didn't even come to North America, and even here people still know about them, people still rave all about them, because honestly the E46 CSL, that was a completely different car from the regular E46 M3. It's not even close. It's a different planet of car, and in my opinion, the E46 CSL is one of the greatest cars ever made. So obviously this thing has very big shoes to fill to kind of live up to that. And when you first go in it, you know, it looks a little promising. You have these very aggressive seats, even though these are not even the most aggressive ones you can get on this car. The center console is all carbon fiber, which if you spend time on an E46 M3 CSL, you know that's what it looks like in the car. And everything is just a lot more aggressive. The full Alcantara steering wheel, the carbon fiber paddle shifters, the carbon fiber steering wheel. This car looks like it's a complete track car. But, you know, after driving it, it's not as exciting as the E46 M3. The E46 M3 feels like they took an E46 and hollowed it out. This thing doesn't, it feels kind of light, but it doesn't feel super light. It doesn't feel like anything too crazy. It sounds pretty good, but again, I'm pretty sure so will the regular M4. And same thing like the regular E46, like the CSL had some transmission critics. This one could probably have the same thing, because no, it's not a dual clutch, it's a ZF automatic, but honestly, for an automatic gearbox, this thing does pretty well. And here you can hear the sound a little bit. Now, I'm not driving this car right now in the most aggressive modes, because honestly, in a city, driving in the sport chassis mode, it gets way, way, way too stiff. So chassis mode is in comfort right now. Engine mode is in sport, everything else is in sport. Because honestly, this car is brand new, so I don't want to put anything in Sport Plus yet. The car is not fully broken in, but I just want to experience what this car can do. And you know what? Even though it feels like a big car, it goes around corner very, very well. So quick stats, just for anybody who wants to know numbers. Horsepower on this car is 543, which is 40 more than the 503 on the regular M4 Comp. And the big number, the big difference comes from the weight. This car is actually 240 pounds lighter than the regular M4 Comp, and honestly, you can see it in here. There's no back seats. They kind of took out a lot of things to save weight. There's not even a cup holder, even though I don't really know how that saves weight. And another thing that actually ruined this car for me a little bit because of the straight pipes, and my GT4 got ruined as well in the same way because of my friend Jason, is they actually don't have any speakers in the back to save weight. So when you listen to music, everything comes from the front. Now, one thing that I really, really like about these new BMWs is the digital cluster. I think this might be the best looking digital cluster I've seen in a modern car. And I like that it says M4 CSL here, and it lets you know you're in a special car. You're not in just any regular M4 or any regular BMW. It does, you know, everything you're looking at directly in front of you feels very, very special. So the one thing that for me personally just doesn't really do it with the new BMWs, especially with one like this, I think the M4 honestly might end up making more sense because of this, is the price of this car in Canadian dollars is around $170,000. For $170,000, that kind of sits right in between a GT4 and a GT4 RS. Honestly, you could probably option a GT4 RS very, very base, and it will come pretty close to this price range. Now, at the end of the day with this, you're driving a front engine car. You're driving a bigger car that was kind of originally built to be a regular sedan, you know, 3 Series, 4 Series, whatever it is. It's built off somewhat of a regular car, whereas something like a GT4 is built off a Cayman, which is a mid-engine sports car. So personally for me, I just don't see the justification of spending this type of money on this type of car, unless you're a BMW collector, and those people are going to buy these cars, and this will be a special car, a rare car. It will age very well. You're not going to lose any money on it. It's, you know, it's a great car to be a part of a collection, to drive once in a while, get you a little bit of excitement, but not too much more than that. Okay, we have a tight downhill here. We have a little bit of space in front of us. Let's see how this thing handles some corners. But yeah, the paddle shifters are actually really good for an automatic transmission. This thing shifts very, very quickly. I'm very, very impressed with it. I actually thought it was going to be kind of the downfall of this car, but it's really, really not. I mean, it's pretty instant. Honestly, if you didn't tell me, there's a chance I would have thought it's a dual clutch. But for a big car like this, you do feel that they took the weight out. The 240 pounds, again, I haven't driven the regular one yet, but I feel like it will be very apparent. It doesn't give me the full hollow feeling that the E46 gave me, but you can tell there's weight gone from this car. The front end feels so light. Now, it might be because of the way they kind of tuned the steering to feel very light, because it feels lighter than most BMWs. And speaking of the steering, one thing that I really like about BMWs, especially the new ones, I love the steering wheels. You don't have too much on it to distract you. You have the M1 and M2 mode buttons that look very, very cool in the red. It's an Alcantara wheel, but it's a very thick Alcantara wheel, which gives you a really good grip. And the Alcantara feels amazing. Now, this car is pretty much brand new. It has a few hundred kilometers on it, so that might be why. But overall, I love the new BMW steering wheels. They're so good. You don't really get tired of them, and they're so comfortable to use. But the one thing that kind of confuses me is that this is supposed to be a lightweight car, yet, you know, they put a wireless charger here, but no cup holders. They have the power folding mirrors. I mean, so many things that don't really make sense for a lightweight car, but they still put in here. But honestly, I think they still somehow got away with it pretty nicely, because the car doesn't feel heavy. For a car that looks this big, it doesn't feel that big. So let's push it a little bit. Ooh, sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty freaking good. Pretty instant downshift. Oh, it takes the corners so well. Ooh, K-trim. I don't know if you guys will see in the background. Wait. Ooh, that car right there was a K-trim. That was actually pretty freaking cool. Okay, so BMW M4 Comp. We're kind of back down to the regular version, the car you might see on the road. And yeah, now my biggest issue going into the CSL was that they used the name CSL. Now, when I drove the E46, like I said, car felt hollowed out. It felt like a lightweight version of the car. Now, for me, the first new M4 I drove was the CSL, so it didn't feel so light to me, and it didn't really make too much sense. But now that I'm behind the wheel of the regular M4, or the Comp, I should say that, I get why. You do feel the weight difference. It's a massive weight difference. This thing feels pretty heavy. Steering is a lot heavier than it is on the CSL. Everything, yeah, it's a little more heavy. Soon we're gonna get up on the open road and see what the power's like and all that. But this does feel like the more comfortable version of that car. That car is super uncomfortable. The suspension is super stiff. But man, like, you feel it. Honestly, I was totally off of my assumption of that car, and it is a huge difference. This thing feels like it's full. Like, you know, you have everything here is leather, the steering wheel is leather, and it just kind of, the whole feel of the car kind of feels like that. Other than that, though, there's not that much difference. The interior is very, very similar. A lot of carbon, not as much carbon as there is on that, because here you have an actual center console compartment. Not everything here is carbon. You have cup holders. So this is like the more comfortable version of the car. But here, we're going to go right now into a road where I might have some space to push it and see what it does. And let's see if the 40 horsepower really comes into play. Ooh, this truck almost hit me. Let's go. Oh, ho, ho, ho. This thing's quick. Honestly, the 40 horsepower, yeah, it's there. It's not the biggest difference. It's not make it or break it, that 40 horsepower. So when you're accelerating, you're not going to notice the biggest difference. But the turn in and the movement of the car, this thing is not as sharp as the CSL. It's not bad. It's honestly still very good. It's not a boat or anything like that, but it's just not as sharp as the CSL. So let's give it a bit of gas. Ooh, these turbos. Oh my God. 6-cylinder is great. Honestly, it's got a lot of character. Great engine. I really don't mind it. I'm not really missing the V8 from, you know, now the V8 was what, 10 years ago. Well, let's go. Empty switch of road. Ooh. I'm gonna put the transmission speed up. Oh yeah. So yeah, the transmission, the ZF Auto, feels like a dual clutch. Like I said before in the other car, super quick, very, very good. It feels, honestly, transmission feels the same here as it does over there, really. It's the handling. Okay, let's quick brake. The ceramic brakes are insanely better in the CSL. This one has steel brakes. I'm not sure if you can option the ceramics on the M4. I believe you probably can. But yeah, huge difference on the braking. But there's just something with the CSL that kind of gives it the special factor, the it factor, where you get your Alcantara steering wheel. Here it's the same steering wheel, it's just in leather, but it just, because of that, it feels more like a normal car. Yeah, all the little bits and touches do make the CSL feel more special. So I do kind of see more the point of it now that I'm driving the M4 after driving that. Yeah, this is your daily car. This is, you know, it could be your secondary car, but I don't know, this doesn't feel special enough, I think, to be your secondary car. It's a great daily, whereas that's definitely not a daily. Now, I wish I could also compare this to the last gen M4, but the only previous gen M4 I've ever driven was a GTS, and I think I've driven 2 or 3 of them, but they're only been GTSs, so can't really compare. Okay, same turn that I did with the CSL. This thing, it doesn't have a hard time holding on, but it's just not as nice and as precise and as easy as it is in the CSL. But the ride is so much more comfortable. I put right now the suspension in the stiffest mode, and it's livable. With the CSL, you're just bouncing all around. Even when I did my review, like I said in the CSL, I didn't put the chassis setting on its stiffest because honestly it gets a little bit too harsh. Here it's very livable. So again, it's a hard question to say, is it worth the money difference? Because it depends what you're looking for. I think as an average person, you're probably not, it's not going to be the same person looking at the CSL and a regular M4. It's a different clientele. And I don't think I would stretch to get the CSL. I'll probably get an M4, feel a lot less guilty driving it. It doesn't feel like you're driving something very special, like a collector items. And now that I'm driving this, that one does seem a lot more special. It just didn't kind of when I got into it, because honestly, I'm used to like my GT4 and stuff, so it's a very different kind of ball game. This thing is, yeah, it's more of a daily. I think that car, the straight pipes kind of said it best, and I'm not gonna lie, I watched their videos on both of these cars to kind of do my research on them. If you're a BMW collector, you need that car. You're gonna have that car in your collection. You're gonna take it out once in a while. If you're a car enthusiast in general, you're not a collector, you have 1 or 2 cars, this could be your only car, you're not gonna buy that. You're gonna buy this car. This car is a lot more usable, a lot more comfortable, so you can really like do road trips and everything. I would not want to do a road trip in a car like that. Even somehow the seats here feel more comfortable than the seats there, even though it's the same seats. But overall, this is just a more pleasant and comfortable experience to just kind of live with. But that car is a lot more exciting. Just the handling is amazing. So I would say it depends what kind of person you are, what you're looking for in a car. If you're an overall just car enthusiast, you don't need the CSL. Grab one of these, you'll have plenty of fun. If you're a BMW collector or any kind of car collector and you want to kind of have the specialness of the car and you want to know that you have a piece of history, you have the 3rd ever CSL kind of made it by BMW. It's a car that's going to be a piece of history, and a part of the fun of driving a car like a CSL or any special edition like that is just the fact that you know you're driving that. You're driving a piece of history. You're driving something so rare that not everybody can just go and buy. So that's honestly a huge part of the appeal, but I gotta say, the big difference between these two is the handling. The front end of that car just feels way lighter than the front end of this car. So personally for me, as much as I was actually gonna say that this is the car I would pick, I'm the type of guy where I like knowing that I'm driving a special car. I like it's just cool for me to know that, oh, there's only this many of these cars, or there's the history behind the car I'm driving. It's not only about the driving experience, and you don't get so much of that in this. You get all of that in that car, the one behind me, the CSL. So that was it for the comparison between the M4 Competition and the M4 CSL. Let me know if you guys would choose the Competition over the CSL, or if you guys would spend the extra money on the CSL. And also, this outro is brought to you by the owner of this blue M4 who always gives me shit for not having an outro. So today, this is the outro.